It was I would call it it's one of those dates that you go on that you don't know what's gonna happen after the movie or after dinner. Like, where is this going? Like, I'm trying to like feel you out a little bit, right? So it was super fun.
From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicky Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training podcast. I'm going to be one of the hosts for this episode. My name is Bill. Who else is hosting and still chewing something?
I'm Vicky.
I'm Jeremy.
You are.
And we have a very
guest.
special guest tonight.
We do. Let's see. How do we introduce him? He's a member of Sorry for Party Racing. He is, let's see. He raced with us at Thompson. And we also raced with him, but not the same cars, at PittRace. And for some reason, his email says PGA, which is very intriguing to me, and which I have to find out much more about. And for some silly reason, he's on again.
He is.
Welcome, Tim.
And yes.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be back. I kind of crashed the party last time, and then somehow I got an invite. I don't know how that happened.
Yep.
Well, you said sorry for the party.
Yep.
Dad joke done for the episode.
Yep.
There
for
it
sure.
is. Very well. Very well.
I love that "Don't Wheel Me, Bro" shirt. That's so funny.
All right.
Yeah.
So, why don't you give us a little bit of a background of who you are, a brief introduction?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. So originally a Jersey guy.
Where from?
Dad was a mechanic, airplane mechanic, was a fighter pilot, and wrenched on all of his own things growing up. But he didn't do it because he liked it. He did it because he was broke. So he didn't really introduce me to it and like hand me wrenches and things like that. It was more of, well, the Toyota's broken again with 400,000 miles on it. So I've got to fix it so I can get to work. So that was kind of my introduction to cars. And it was fascinating to watch him fix these things.
As he grumbled, right?
As he grumbled. And then my mom started taking me when I was young to Wall Stadium, to Circle Track. It was dirt back then. And that was my first race experience. And I was like, wow, like little kid, wide-eyed. I was like, this is really cool.
And loud.
So, yeah, like all the things. I remember one race where these two cars got into each other and the wheel went flying off and shot straight up in the air. It took the light out on the post at the track. And, they had to close things down and fix things. And like that, I still see that vividly in my mind. And I was like, man, that is cool. I would love to do that someday. And then kind of fell in love with cars, but more, Lamborghini poster on the wall kind of stuff. But I went to college for industrial design, and I wanted to be an automotive designer. So that was kind of the direction I was headed through college. And as I started to get into college, I realized that my sporting career was kind of over. I wasn't big enough or strong enough to do the things that I did in high school. So my dad talked me into taking up golf, and I got absolutely hooked and started playing golf and kind of went a different direction. Became a PGA golf professional in 1996, and I've been in the golf industry ever since.
Woohoo.
So that was really cool, really fun. I got to meet a lot of different people and see a lot of things and go to a lot of really cool stuff. But the one thing it didn't let me do was go racing on the weekend, because golf pros work every weekend and every holiday. So it wasn't until 2014 that I started to get into racing. And it was kind of funny. I took a group of members. I would take a big group of people to different places. And we went to Mexico one year, and I was sitting around the dinner, having a cocktail with a bunch of members after a nice meal. And I had seen this 24 hours of lemons shenanigans on YouTube. And I was like, I really want to try this. This looks really stupid. And
right.
it's so dumb. I love it. And it's like no pressure and all the things. Like, what a perfect introduction into the race world. So there was a guy at the table, this guy, Wayne Evans. He was like, oh yeah, I've been doing that for like 6 years. I'm like, what? So he told me all about it. And this is in California, lived in California at this point in time. And he puts me in touch with a Arrive and Drive team, Fish Newman and his partner Dave, and they had the Ford Model T GT, and they had just built a Pinto. And my first Lemons race was with Fish and Dave in the Pinto, and Wayne came out and kind of showed me the ropes, and that was Sonoma 2014. So I did one track day prior to that. They were like, you should really go and do this. So I went out and did HPDE day with Hooked on Driving, and Scout April, who also does Lemons, was my coach. And she was like, all right, here are the things you need to know to get yourself through the first race, right? And point buys and all of the things that are going to happen to a first timer in a Pinto. So that was kind of my start. So I went out, me and 186 other cars on the track at Sonoma in the rain. It was terrifying, and I was hooked.
So I need to go back just a little bit. You said New Jersey. Yep. You said Wall Stadium.
Yep.
Where was that? Where was home life?
So so I was in Jersey, all over, like every exit of Jersey, up until 2005, and then my wife and I moved out to California at that point in time. But I grew up in Toms River for high school. Went to Kane University for college, and worked full time while I was in college full time. And lived and worked up in that area through college, and got in the golf world, and started out at a club called Jumping Brook Country Club, and then went to a place called Echo Lake Country Club, and then a really nice spot called Somerset Hills Country Club, which is nationally ranked top 100 every year. And then we packed up and moved to Northern California. We've been there ever since.
Cool. We must have passed each other on the Parkway many times.
I bet we did. Probably cursing at other people.
Yep.
Exactly. So what gave you the racing bug? Like what? I mean, you think golf, you think you might race a golf cart or something, but not exactly. Well, they're tippable, but they're not that much fun. Where'd the bug come from? Just Wall?
Wall Stadium for sure. And it was, I liked to drive fast. My first car I had was a 1981 Audi 4000 5-speed with probably 300,000 miles on it. The odometer stopped working 10 years ago, and it already had 150 on it.
Hey, I had one of those too.
Did you really?
I did.
It was awesome. So yeah, so I was 16 years old. I got the car. It was a hand-me-down from my stepfather, Charlie. and typical New Jersey car, it was completely rotten. So I got a job at Mako, so I could learn how to fix it up and get $5 paint job on it and make it kind of look pretty for a couple of years. And then typical Jersey. After that, I was like, all right, I want to get a car and a fast car, right? So I was like, I'm going to go out and buy a Camaro Z28. So I was like making decent money. I'm going to go buy this car. My dad's like, you should call the insurance company before you
Especially in
buy
New
that
Jersey.
car, right? So
Yeah.
so I called the insurance company, and it was like $4,600 a year for insurance.
Wow.
And like no tickets and no things. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll get the 6-cylinder.
Yeah, exactly.
So that poor car, I beat the heck out of that poor car.
My cousin was complaining. He grew up in North Carolina. He was complaining about his insurance. I think it was like $1,100. And I'm like, oh wow, $1,100 a quarter? That's not bad. Mine's a little more than that. And he's like, no, mine's a year. I'm like, oh, sorry. No, it's very different.
Yes, Jersey's terrible insurance. So yeah, so I like driving fast, and I always wanted to like get out on the track and do something where you kind of learn car control, and that was that had always been in the back of my mind, but I just never had the opportunity to go and do that until later in life.
Isn't that how it is?
Mm-hmm.
So, what is your professional life outside of racing?
So, been in the golf business, like I said, since 96. 2005, when we moved out to California, I ran I managed a 36-hole high-end private golf facility called Black Hawk Country Club. Really cool spot. We hosted the LPGA there for 5 years, so I got to see all of the workings of a major tour event, and it was fun. But it's very demanding, and you wear a lot of hats, and in California, there's no such thing as an off season like there was in Jersey. I'd go and goof off for 3 months in the winter in Jersey, but in California, there is no off season.
No.
So that started to wear on me, and watching all of the members and all of my friends and everything that have weekends off, and they're able to do this stuff, and I started to push back a little bit, and wanted more free time to do things that I've never had a chance to. So that changed through COVID. After COVID, I said, you know what, I'm out of the management side of things, and I turned in my keys and became an independent contractor. And now I teach golf at that same facility, where I can make my own schedule, and nice. If I need to go and do something for a couple of weeks or a weekend, I can do that. So
hop in a car.
Really cool. Yep.
Visit family.
Yep. Whatever you need to do. So
very nice.
It's been really good. I've been really enjoying it.
Good.
Jeremy, you have the dock or no?
He doesn't have the dock open.
I don't have the dock open. Hold on.
Okay. Very well.
Go ahead.
Go.
I'll rip it. Okay. So you mentioned you were smarter than we were, and you went to an HPDE before your first race, as opposed to what we did, which is highly recommended and also highly not recommended. Did you do any other training or HPDEs or racing schools or anything over the years?
No. I mean, I did some dumb things on the Garden State Parkway, but I don't know if that really qualifies.
My statute of limitations has run out on some of the things I did on the Parkway. So
yeah, it was that was it. It was the
fingers flying,
and off I went. So it was an interesting week going into that Lemons weekend, and luckily, Fish and Dave are great. They have the whole program dialed in. Literal arrive and drive. Like, don't touch the car, don't do anything, put your helmet on, shut up and drive. And and you could ask questions, and they were awesome. So they made it really easy to do it. And I did, oh man, I probably did 5 or 6 arrive and drives with them in both Pintos, and I drove the Model T GT a couple times, which was a really wicked car, and it was fun. It was fun.
Mhm.
And then I said, you know what, this is really cool, but I want to learn how to wrench on things myself. And I started looking for a team to join, and I went through the Lemons forum, and there was a guy a mile away from my house in Danville, California, Jim Bauman, that was on there, and so I reached out to him, and he and I met and hit it off, and we've been good buds ever since. So we, in spite of racing a horrible car together, we still like each other.
It is a hard.
Very nice. Very, very nice.
Goals, dreams, bucket list items, tracks, racings, things like that. Or have you accomplished all of?
Boy, it's I gotta make sure my wife's not listening to this, because I have so many things that I want to do.
Oh,
So many things.
Amy
Yeah.
will be like, no, go.
Yeah. So I turned 50 next year, and I've already sweet talked her into doing either somewhere between a 5 and a 7 day rally school for my 50th birthday.
Wow.
And she's going to come with me and do it. She's done a couple of HPDE days. She likes to drive fast. She commuted in a Subaru STI for many years, and then got an electric car so she could hog the HOV lane in California, and bought a Tesla Model S. And boy, is that thing fast. And she's really excited about that car. So she's very zippy and has fun. So I've been trying to push her into maybe dipping her toe in the Lemons world, but she's like, man, this is probably a little too chaotic for me. I'm going to stick to a track day every once in a while. But
Hey, I know somebody that's got a super easy to drive race truck that she could always jump in.
And honestly, we have margarita popsicles. So
that might sell her right there. Actually.
a hot day. Yeah.
So are you going to O'Neill, or are you going to Dirtfish?
I don't know. I started messaging Matt Adair, because I know he's got some experience in that, and I'm going to jump on a call with him hopefully this week and pick his brain a little bit. He said you can't go wrong with either.
Right.
So I might just see where the schedule falls and which one's better. But it's
Hey.
it's really about learning car control and being comfortable sliding the car more. You know, I think I've gotten pretty quick in learning how to drive a momentum car. I bought an NA Miata, spec Miata, after I kept beating on my daily driver, and I said to my wife, it's probably a good idea for me to put a cage around myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought a fully caged car and started to learn how to drive that. And boy, I would highly recommend that to anybody to learn how to get out there. It's amazing. You learn how to get quick without using your right foot, and it's super helpful. So that was really cool, and getting to do a lot of HPDE stuff in the Miata. And you get kind of banged up in the fact that you work really hard to pass people and all these twisty bits.
Yep.
And then you get to the straightaways, and they just like, and off they go.
Yeah.
And you catch them again. You work really hard to get around them, and then you get to the straightaway, and off they go. And so a couple years ago, I sold my Miata, and I bought a 2008 Corvette with the ANA supercharger on it that's making 600 of the rear wheels, and it's way more car than I've ever driven before. So
that's almost the same though.
Completely new.
Almost. Just
Yeah.
right next to it.
Yeah.
It's that 550 horsepower mark where things really change drastically.
Yeah. And it winds up pretty quick too. So, if you don't have really sticky tires on it that are warmed up, it can get away from you. So that's been a new change for me. It's a welcome change, but I do kind of miss the toggle switch throttle pedal of the Miata.
100%. It's almost the same as the Corvette, though. It's so close.
I will say, Tim, if you do O'Neill, that's really, I mean, if you're going to go do it up in New Hampshire area, that's close to me. So if you want more company, I would be glad to go with you.
Oh, okay. Well, start saving your pennies, buddy. Are you getting attacked by Uncle Sam over there? What's going on?
Yeah.
I have similar pennies if you need to make it a group event.
That would be a cool birthday.
We can get 2 more if you need it. Just let us know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the more the merrier. I'm all about the party.
So what's the rest of your schedule look like for 2022? Do you have any more races lined up or any more track days, events, things like that?
I do. So I also started coaching for Hooked on Driving. So right now I'm in Maine for the summer, but when I get back to California, I'll probably do 3 or 4 more coaching days. But as far as races go, I have Buttonwillow lined up. So we'll be doing that at the end of September. Be running multiple cars. Corey Dickman and I are co-owners of the Ranwen Parked Racing 1973 El Camino 454 SS, which debuted at Thunderhill this year. And we exited a rear axle out of the passenger side of the car, and it went out so violently it gave itself a donut and then punctured a hole with the axle in the quarter behind the wheel well. So that was pretty epic fail. We went and got a whole new diff, put it in, came back, took checkers on Sunday, and won the very well named award, which was business in the front and failure in the rear. So that was fun. Lemons always does a good job in poking fun at people. So we'll be running that, and then 2 Sorry for Party cars. We'll be running the Failbird and Dean's 944 Champagne Showers Porsche. So trying to figure out who's going to be in which cars, but it's usually I'll get in as many cars as often as possible. That's kind of my MO. So hopefully I'll be in all 3 of them. Then we got Sonoma in December. I'll be running the El Camino again in that, in my car, which is a 2007 Pontiac Solstice, the Fat Miata, we like to call it.
Right. Are those with Lemons, or do you do other series as well?
That's all Lemons. I've done Champ Car. We did that during COVID at Willow Springs Raceway, which I think is one of the coolest tracks out there. That last 5 turns is the ultimate pucker factor. You know, keep your foot in it, go around. There's no visual cues on where your turn-in points are, and you are just hauling around there. It's such a cool track. We did that in the Omega and won the EC class by 53 laps on Saturday in a 76 Oldsmobile Omega, baby. And
crap.
And then we did Lucky Dog once at Laguna in the Failbird. We had the Failbird and the Omega. We broke both of those cars. I happened to have the Solstice with me in my trailer, so we ran that through tech on Sunday, and then that broke too. So we broke all of the cars. So that was not a great weekend. But,
something to do with Lucky Dog. We've had similar issues, most of them due to us, but you know.
Yeah, no, there was no contact in anything. We had wheel bearing explode. We had the driver's seat tear out of the floor. The WAP had a cylinder 4 misfire, which was actually the wiring, the OEM wiring harness in the car, the power wire that goes to all 4 coils, when they kind of folded in on itself to make it shorter. And at every spot where they folded it, the wire kink broke. And so I was getting intermittent power through those wires. So it took a while to figure that out, but that was a doozy. But it's mostly Lemons. I like the Lemons community. You know, it's racing secondary. It's really getting together with all the people and having fun and telling stories and seeing what the vets are doing and seeing what the newbies are doing. And trying to introduce new people to the sport. That's super cool. I really enjoy that.
Now, Bill, real quick before you ask this next question.
Yep.
Tim's answer for this next question is what every single person in a Lemons paddock or any racing event for that matter should live by.
Okay.
Now, with that said, go ahead and ask that next question.
No pressure, Tim. I mean, he's trying to set you up for the easy, 2-foot putt that you just like rims out on you. But
I'm telling you, the philosophy is just go ahead.
Okay. So we like to do, traditionally we do a good, bad, and the ugly, and then we add what did we learn after every race. But since we're not talking directly after a race, what would you view as something good that you've done or some other team should do? What would you view as something not to do that you've learned over your career? And ugly is just a really good excuse for story time. So,
Okay. All right. So the good, I think the good is just the networking and the people that you meet and all of the personalities that you would never have crossed paths with if you weren't doing Lemons. You do a lot of the race sports or race series, and you don't have the interaction like you do in Lemons, and that's the good. I've met people like you guys on the East Coast. Like I've met the 3-pedal crew, all the guys that I'm running with now on the West Coast. It's all been just through after the race, having a beer, what's going on with your car? Do you need a hand? Do you need a this? Do you need a that? And that, I love that. I think that's, that should happen in life more, let alone in auto racing. So that's the good for sure. I think the bad is I can't do it enough. It's like 7 races is not enough.
It is, and it isn't.
It's definitely addictive. Like it's my happy place being at the racetrack, and being in the car is super fun too. But just being at the racetrack and crawling under a car and helping a guy out. Like I am a wrench in training, and being around people that really know how to fix things and can kind of help you along the way is cool. And so the bad is things break, things are expensive. The weather in California can be good and bad. And the fact that it's usually just melt your face off hot, as opposed to always in the rain on the East Coast. But it's harder to say more about the bad. I don't have a lot of bad. When the car breaks and you don't get any track time and you spend a lot of time wrenching on things and leading up to it, and you can't, especially if you've got people coming that are depending on your car and something happens, like that's not fun. Like you feel really bad about that. And
you do.
And so that's probably the worst is having somebody show up and your junk's all broken in spite of everything you can do. The ugly is be careful what car you try to really put your time and effort into. So I'd mentioned a guy named Jim Bauman in the early days when I started to get into racing, and that's how I met Matt Faridas and Jason Ross. The 4 of us were part of a team, and we had a terrible Nissan 240 SX that we bought from another team, and it had a Corvette C4 rear end on it, and it was affectionately known as the Poor Vet. And it was really well done. It was one of those cars that when it goes by, you go, wait a minute, that's not a Corvette, but it was close enough that it made you do a double take. But to its core, it was a Nissan, and therefore terrible. And the car was super fun when it ran, but it always broke, and it tried to tear itself apart, and it was crooked. And we did all of the things to try to make it better. And it was fun going through that process and learning that, but it was,
Bye, Logan. Bye, partner.
it was a lot of braking. We blew 3 motors before we realized, hey, maybe we should put an oil cooler on this thing and stop melting all of the plastic bits inside, like the timing chain guides and ventilating all these motors is expensive.
Mhm.
So that was ugly. The inner tie rod fell out one time. The inner tie rod. Like, how does that happen? Yeah, how does that happen? So it's just like that car was always trying to kill you. It was terrible. So we sold. It was the car's name was Ernie, and we sold Ernie to another guy, and we told him in advance. We're like, here's what the car is. We'll give you the whole thing for $1,500 in spares and everything else. And he was like, oh yeah, no, we're gonna get it working. We're gonna do some things. And
Charlotte's inside.
I think he almost finished one day in the car before the motor blew. And then now I think he's putting a big motor in it, which is simply going to break everything downstream of it.
Yep. Or bend it
or twist it. I mean, the car's already twisted. So the ugly Ernie was definitely the ugly, but it gave me the opportunity to meet guys like Jim and Matt and a lot of the crew that I pit with now, the Randwood Park Racing guys and the Motherfuckers. We've got a big group of like 12 of us where we're all get garage spaces together and hang out and barbecue and that's, I look forward to that just as much as getting in a race car. It's super cool.
So I kind of, before we move on, I want to go back a little bit. There was 4 words that you said that I want you to elaborate on more. You said, it's my happy place. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Like when you're at the track and things go wrong, do you get upset about it, pissed off at people? Like, do let's elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah. So I've had terrible things happen at the racetrack, doing a motor swap in 105-degree temperature and, laying on the blacktop at Thunder Hill on my birthday with, flip-flops and my legs are getting sunburned and the guy walks over to me with a little infrared thermometer and shoots the blacktop next to my leg. And he's like, yeah, it's 136 right there. You might want to put some sunscreen on. And I'm like, thanks, man. That's awesome. Appreciate that. So I'm getting
or aluminum foil, right?
Something, right? So, but you get done and it's just, all right, look what I accomplished, right? How we thrashed on this car, we ripped most of the skin off of our hands and we got it back out on track, or we didn't, but we had a hell of an effort and we've got great stories to tell about it. And going out and doing, doing the bad things and whether it be repairs or, if you do something stupid and you go and apologize to the guys, it's, don't get mad. What are you gonna get mad about? Like, we pay a lot of money to go and do this. Like, if you're mad about something, you're doing it wrong. Like, you got it way wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how bad or how broken or anything else. Like, the only thing you should be mad about is somebody's intentionally trying to like do something to put you out of the race, which I've never seen in Lemons. Right? You see it in like Spec Miata, you see it in some of the other race series, which is why I don't do those. But I just want to go out and have fun and compete and enjoy the time and the competition with people and high five them when they're done.
You know what? We went to an HPDE for the Northeast, and we were there when Mark Petronas went into the trees and his car caught fire. And he was in the car when it caught fire. And that really kind of put a lot of things in perspective for everyone. You're not out there getting a sponsorship. You're not out there getting any kind of major monetary anything. The most you're going to get is bragging rights. So what are you getting upset about? What are you losing? Serious.
Yeah. And I've tried to put that into perspective in my whole life, right? And it was a lesson that I learned early on with golf with my father. And, I wanted to be competitive. I wanted to play well. I wanted to go out and win tournaments. And I would practice really hard, and I would put my heart and soul into it. And when I hit a bad shot, I'd get all angry and mad. And I remember one time I played with my dad at Fort Monmouth Golf Course in New Jersey, and I hit a bad shot, and I spiked my club on the ground, and I was, and my dad just whacked me right up the back of my head. Well, boom, like almost put me in my face. And he goes, "What the hell are you so mad about?" He's like, "You're not good enough to be that mad. Shut up and hit the ball. Like, go enjoy, like, you're out here and like go enjoy yourself." Right. And
a little perspective, son.
He did. Yeah. I'll tell you what, he literally slapped some sense into me, and it changed my perspective in a lot of things. I'm like, you can either choose to let things get at you and let them dig at you, or you can just say, hey, you know what? That is what it is, and it's out of my control, and I'm going to move forward.
Try better next time.
What I can do. Yeah, absolutely. And if that's what happens 5 times, then maybe I can fix it on the 6th time, and just keep going forward and keep enjoying the process. Right. And that's what I think the deep lesson is enjoy the process, enjoy being in the car. What can I learn? Like, what can I learn from the people around me? Like, car goes screaming by you, try to hang on to them for a couple of turns and see what they're doing. Watch how they're trying to throw the car around, whether it be good or bad. There was a car at Thompson that beat us, and they were terrible. They just had a really fast car. They were always in the wrong spot. The car was out of control, and they'd come by and be like, "I'm getting out of your way. Like, you do you." Like,
we're right here, Tim. We're right here.
But you learn from them. No, it was red and white is not a theme. Oh, that's a hint as to who that was.
Very well.
Yeah. Those are good words of wisdom.
They are. Okay, so now that we're done with the intro, we're going to get to the meat of the podcast.
Captain's Log Supplemental.
So, Miss Vicky.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember when we were watching those WRL events and some of those Grid Life events where you used to see the in-car video, and it had like the cameras seeing front and back, but it also could see all the telemetry and everything that was going on?
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of the ones that we liked were taken by the Sentinel system. Remember James came on our podcast earlier?
Right.
You know, we have no excuse since he lent us one for trial and demonstration purposes. We should actually probably put that in one of our cars. Maybe 2.
I really think we should.
I think we should.
I know.
Because then we'd look like the immature endurance racing team that we are. Oh, wait, I mispronounced that, didn't I? Sorry, my bad. We could
So what does the
have,
Sentinel system do?
we could have 3 cameras with picture-in-picture. We could have, if we ever get the AIM system to work, open invitation to anybody from AIM to come on and give us a little bit of love. We need some help. And then we could have all our telemetry on there. And then we can have it streamed live into the paddock or around the world to our millions of fans. We're apparently very popular in Kenya right now. Don't know why, but that's fine. And it can integrate all the available race statistics from like Race Hero and everything. So we could actually see how we're doing on video. We wouldn't even have to carry around our phone anymore. Live.
I love it.
So,
Okay.
you know, we met you. All right. Vicky's got the question that leads into why we met you, but we didn't know we met you. So, Vicky.
Yeah. So let's talk sorry for party.
All right.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So the team members, how did you end up meeting up with them? How did that team form?
So Sorry for Parties originally an East Coast team, and it was Matt, Pantless Matt, they call him.
Yep.
Dean, Pete, and there's one more guy who I haven't met yet. I'm drawing a blank on his name, and they were the original 4 of Sorry for Party. And Matt moved to the West Coast. He moved to Utah, and he knew Jim Bauman. Jim was a Vermont guy. He would run Burt 1, the yellow Volvo. It's been around forever. And then Jim moved to the West Coast. And then I met Jim, as I said earlier, on the Lemons Forum. And he and Matt had started this team with Ernie. And so I meet Matt. He's still going back east doing races with the Failbird and Sorry for Party. And the Sorry for Party team on East Coast, life started to happen. A couple of teammates, families got bigger, going to soccer games, can't have as much time for racing. So the team started to kind of break up a little bit as far as how many races they were doing. And Matt had spent a lot of time working on the Failbird and said, all right, well, we got to get the Failbird out on the West Coast. So they figured out how to get the car out on the West Coast. But in that process, we met Corey Dickman from Sorry for Party, or from Ran One Park Racing. And Corey had the 76 Omega, and it was like cappuccino tan colored. And he was trying to figure out a good theme for it. He'd already won IOE, he'd already won Class C in it. And he sent Matt a note on this Facebook Messenger chat that we were all part of. And he said, hey, how would you guys feel if I zebra striped the Omega? And Matt was like, hell yes.
Yeah.
Hell yes. So Corey zebra striped the Omega. And then the Failbird started to make its way out to the West Coast. But Matt bought a Pontiac Solstice on the East Coast. That was a track car that somebody stuffed in a wall. And Matt, knowing the 3-pedal team really well, said, hey, could you guys do something with this? So they said, sure, we'll cage it, and then we'll drive it for a little while, and then we'll figure out how to get it to you, right? So the car was bent, and Jeff Wakeman is driving his truck on the car to try to bend it back into some straight shape. And so they cage it and they start racing it. And I think they only got one race in before COVID hit. Mm-hmm. And Chris had basically built the car, and I think he got like 15 minutes in the car. That was it.
Yeah.
And then I was on the East Coast. I drove out. As I said, we've got a house on a lake out here in Maine, and Matt was like, well, hey, would you mind towing the Solstice back? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I met
Was Chris. It still themed?
No, it was themed. It was 3-pedal themed. So they had a theme.
I remember the theme.
Yeah, it was.
They were the ambiguously gay duo.
Yes. So they
wasn't ambiguous at all.
No.
They painted the car,
especially when Tom was driving it.
Nope.
So they painted the car. We'll just call it like flesh color that you doesn't see the sun a lot. Not tan. I wouldn't call it.
It was very phallic.
Yes, very phallic. So I picked this car up on a U-Haul from Chris Abbott in this shady gas station in Pennsylvania, and my wife
that doesn't narrow it down,
like,
though.
What are you doing? And so we start driving across the country, and we are going through Ohio, and it starts dumping rain. And they used water-based paint, and the flesh is now melting off of the car and painting all of the cars in its path. Right. So
and the U-Haul depleted uranium trailer.
Yeah. Yes. So there are penis-colored cars behind me going down the highway. And so now we get to the hotel, and I was like, where am I gonna park this thing? I gotta park this like in the back.
Gotta hide it at this point.
Yeah, totally. Right. It's got like silver showing through. It was terrible looking. So I park it in the back of the parking lot for the hotel, and we get a couple hours of sleep and get back on the road in the morning. And I come out, and it just rained all night long, so hard. And I come out, and there is a flesh-colored puddle in the parking lot underneath this race car, and my wife looks at me and she's like, "Ooh, we need to go." So we jump in the truck and peel out of there. So yeah, so that was day one with the solstice. So we get that out to the West Coast. Immediately Matt orders the Sorry for Party vinyl wrap for it. And I have to say that car looks so incredibly stupid and good with that vinyl wrap. I mean, you could see it coming a mile away. And so Sorry for Party West Coast was born with that car. And so we had the Omega, we had the Pontiac Solstice, and then the Failbird came out. And then Dean, who was in the Carolinas, he moved to LA and he brought the Champagne Showers Purple Porsche out, and that's done a couple of races now too. So the fleet is growing. We are starting to take over the world slowly, one Sorry for Party vehicle at a time.
Okay, so like I said, we met you, but we didn't know we met you because you guys are very difficult to identify when you have your traditional Sorry for Party wardrobe on, as well as your traditional New Hampshire race paddock decorations. We'll go with decorations. So in case people have not experienced said theme and paddock, would you care to describe them for our sixes of listeners?
Yeah, it's it is. So LMFAO is the basis of Sorry for Party. So if you've ever seen any of their videos or anything, everything is super colorful. It's zebra striped, it's animal striped. There's a character, DJ Shufflebot. He's got a big gold cardboard box head. So, you know, if you see a guy in zebra striped pants with a dog dressed up as a zebra and a gold box head smoking a cigar, it might be me. And if that's not it, you'll see somebody with a huge puffy black wig on and stupid glasses, and the music that we affectionately have that we play all the time, we call douche jams. So we're always rocking the douche jams. And so Nick Pond, one time, Corey was sitting next to him and he says to somebody as we go by with the music just jamming out of the race car during the race, and he goes, "Those guys don't really like that music, do they?" So we got a good chuckle out of that, and that's where Douche Jams was born, with Nick questioning if we really enjoy the music or not. But we like to go big. We like to have LEDs, and we had a 8-foot pink flamingo that one gentleman who may have had a cocktail or two called it a penguin, but I don't know how you can say
it's almost the same.
Pink inflatable and think it's a penguin.
Yeah,
but
we had a laugh on Sunday, didn't we?
Yeah, we had a good laugh about that. But you know, we had this huge penguin, and I put a pool in the middle of it, and it was quite refreshing on a super hot weekend. But those are the dumb things we like to do. If it's dumb, we're 100% in.
So what you're saying is your animal print pants are out of control.
Yeah. I may have more than one pair.
and
so pair.
And if you happen to be coming to the upcoming New Hampshire race, your paddock area is indescribable.
So sadly, I won't be at New Hampshire. I will be just driving back to California. But next year, I did Pitt and Thompson this year. Next year, I want to do Jersey and
New Hampshire.
Oh, there's no you want to. You have a seat. You were doing it with us.
Okay, sounds good. That was hard.
That was tough. So at New Hampshire, you guys have somehow, now this is a NASCAR track, right? So you guys have somehow talked the track workers to storing an entire living room set.
Yes, that is
that
accurate.
You use once a year.
That's accurate. Yeah,
is it still there?
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's always there.
Oh
Wait,
yeah.
can we use it this year?
Absolutely. Bring your zebra pants. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll get some.
so the Sorry for Party team bought basically a living room set off of eBay or Facebook Marketplace or something, and went and picked it up at the trailer and set it up and partied in it all weekend long. And then at the end, they were like, "Hey, is there somewhere like we can keep this?" And the track workers were like, "Yeah, we could probably find a spot for it." So they took it away, and then the next year, no one really remembered it and thought about it. And they showed up to the garage, and all of the furniture was there. And it's been there in the garage now every year since then, which is amazing. So good on you, New Hampshire. Yeah, a lot of mileage out of those sofas.
Mm-hmm. What happens on the sofa stays on the sofa. That's all we're saying.
All right. So Monkey House Racing is using that this year for New Hampshire.
I got plans.
Yep. Got to do it.
Perfect.
Mr. Jeremy, you had some surprise questions you wanted to spring on our guest.
I did.
Thought you did.
Surprised to Jeremy too.
Apparently.
Well, no.
Boom. It's
Lost
such a
him.
surprise that his iPhone turned off. Anyway.
Oh, he had to run away.
He did. He's scared of his own questions. So we'll move to the ones that we had until he comes back.
Sounds good.
So we've met you most closely when you were an Arrive and Drive driver twice in this year alone. So we don't typically do Arrive and Drives. And if we do them poorly. But kind of what's involved for our listeners, what's involved with an Arrive and Drive? What is an Arrive and Drive, and kind of what you'd look out for, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, stuff like that?
That's a great question, actually. You know, there are good Arrive and Drives and there are bad Arrive and Drives. And, you know, I would say the golden rules, if you want to arrive and drive someone's vehicle, is show up on time, pay them on time, be helpful. How can I help? What can I bring? What can I do when I'm there? And the big one is be nice to the car. You know, don't do anything. Don't place the car somewhere that is going to put it at risk or drive it poorly or angrily, and bring it back in the condition you found it. And then from there, once the race day is over, you know, help get it ready for the next day. What can I do? Like, check tire pressures, check torque. Do you need me to go run and get oil or fuel or what, you know, whatever it is, and try to be part of the team. And I think that's a super important part of being an Arrive and Drive. And doing it with Fish, you know, I kind of learned that from the guy Wayne that brought me on board, and I saw it because he was part of a team, so it came natural to him, right? He was doing an Arrive and Drive because he sold his car, but he knew the routine. So that was kind of how I cut my teeth. But seeing other people that came and did Arrive and Drives with Fish, you know, there was none of that. Some guys would show up and, you know, you'd never see him except 5 minutes before they were supposed to get in the car. And if the car broke, you know, they'd go and get a hamburger. You know, so it's that's definitely not the way to do it. You know, especially if you want to get invited back.
Right.
So
when, just as a general Arrive and Drive, what do you look for and what do you look out for when you're purchasing a seat?
So for me, you know, I'm looking for somebody that I know I'm going to enjoy my time with, right? And I want to know what I'm getting into, right? So I've done Arrive and Drives in cars that are non-competitive. I did an Arrive and Drive with Amanda Tully at Pitt, who's very competitive, right? And it's knowing, all right, what's the plan for the car and how can I help whatever that plan is? And you know, with Amanda, it was, you know, don't try to throw hero laps down, be consistent, be clean, keep the car safe, and go round and round and round and round. No black flags, no wiener stepping, and when the car is not on the track, what can I do? Can I hand you a tool? Can I draw things on your hood? Like what are the things that you can do? So it's being the part of the team as a whole, and that happens during the day when the track's hot, and it happens when the track goes cold after checkers too. So I think that's a really important part of coming in and being a Arrive and Drive. And I think things you should look for are people that have a pedigree with a car, right? Like know the car that you're going into. I've heard horror stories of where people have shown up and on Friday and the car's not done yet. And they're like, yeah, well, here's the cardboard list of the things that we need to do to get the car ready for the race tomorrow morning. And you're like, what? Like I flew all the way here and this and that. So, I think it's important you do a little bit of homework on what car you're getting into. The other part of it is I like to drive a lot, so I don't mind getting in multiple cars. So, I would say that it gets a little trickier following the rules that I just laid out if you're in multiple cars. So, like for example, at Thompson, I was in the truck and I was also in the Cressida. So, I'm pinballing myself back and forth, trying to do all those things for both teams as best as possible. But it's, I think as long as you show that you're putting your best foot forward and you're trying to get all those things done and be helpful and whether it be at the end of the weekend, packing up, right? Push the car on the trailer, drive the car on the trailer, like whatever it takes. Once you get out of the car, don't just drive to the airport and leave. It's be part of the team. You're a temporary teammate. Be a teammate.
Yep.
Good questions. Good answers.
So my to be determined question, we kind of already talked about. It was really more about Tim's philosophy of being at the racetrack and the way he approaches it. I think that everyone can learn a lot from that. So that was really my main question, Bill. But we have all the other ones that we're going through anyway. So,
okay. So the most recent race, unless you snuck one in that we don't know about, the most recent race that we were all at was Thompson. And you and I share that our butts have been in the seat of Uncle Dave's Cheaties car. So I had a great time. How did it go for you at Thompson?
That car is way more fun than it should be. It's fast enough. It's predictable. It handles well. You go round and round. I did have I had two funny things that happened. So I get in the car and go out on track, and it's full course yellow. So it's full course yellow for 2 laps, and I'm getting in and I'm like messing with my belts and getting myself settled in and trying to find the water bottle nozzle and all the things. And we're putting around the course. And then green flag drops, and I'm in a pack of 5 or 6 cars that are at the pointy end of the spear, and it's busy, and people are going 3 wide in some spots where they shouldn't, and I'm trying to kind of hang in there but stay out of the way. And so 2 laps under green goes by, and it kind of works itself out, and I get on the tail of the train, and we go around 11 into the main straight, and I look down at the diff gauge, and the diff gauge needle is like pegged, and that's the one thing in the Cressida that Dave struggled with is the diff. So I immediately get on the phone or on the horn, and I'm like, "Hey Dave, the needle's buried. The needle's buried on the diff. Like, should I shut it down? Should I pull in? What should I do? And he goes, well, I'm glad you looked at the gauge, but it's been a few laps since you've done anything. But just so you know, we disconnected that yesterday, and I probably should have told you that. But thanks, and keep going out there." So I had a heart attack. I thought I just totally blew his car up because I wasn't paying attention. But luckily the car was fine. But that was a little bit of an intro into the next issue.
So I've got a 3-part question with a statement at the end. So would you say the car is relatively easy to drive?
Very easy to drive.
Would you say that the car is, handles well?
Yeah.
Does it have enough speed to compete out there?
It has just enough speed to be relevant.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I believe in the immortal words of one of our favorite podcasts in the world. I believe the correct summation of the Cheaties car would be the word boring. Is that true?
Amazing. It's amazingly boring. It's
okay.
fantastic.
Well, luckily, orange is a theme, right?
Well, orange is not a theme. Black is not a theme. Pearl is not a theme. Orange is definitely not a theme.
Okay, very well. All right. I just wanted to clear that up for fellow podcasters out there.
Orange is fantastic, but it's definitely not a theme.
Okay, very well. Miss Vicky, did you did Tim get into any other vehicles that you may be familiar with?
Well, I know he got into the race truck, but I don't know of any other ones.
Let's talk about the race truck then, Tim.
Yes.
How did the trophy truck?
About the race truck.
El Jefe.
The race truck. It was I would call it. It's one of those dates that you go on that you don't know what's gonna happen after the movie or after dinner. Like, where is this going? Like, I'm trying to feel you out a little bit, right? So it was super fun. The truck. The first thing about the truck is that it's got these big rails on the back of the bed, right? Those little wooden rails along the side. And I first got on the truck on practice day on Friday, and I go to back out of the garage, and I thought I was crashing into a fence, but it was actually just the back of the truck. And so I was like, okay, let's catalog that for a while. That's where the corners of the car are, and you go out, and the only rule in the truck is don't use fifth gear, right? So
it's hard not to use fifth gear because you want to do it. You just don't engage. Don't engage the clutch. Don't engage. I mean, I've had it in there once or twice, and I'm like, oh, if I lift this clutch, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one rule. It's the one rule in that truck. But it's fun. We learned some things on practice day. We had some power gremlins back and forth, and we tinkered around with a couple of things, and disconnected the MAF, which helped make it linear instead of so it would kind of chug through the lower RPMs. But then Saturday went out and it ran great, and you're driving around and you're passing people and you're hanging with people and you're out breaking people and it's not fast, but it's not slow, and it's not terrifying. It's pretty predictable. I call it a B- car. It's not a C car. It's a B- car, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tons of body roll and the things going back and forth all over the place, and it's a truck. It's an S10. It does what S10 things, and on a racetrack, that's really fun. Actually, it's driving hoopties is what Lemons is all about. BMWs are cool, Miatas are cool, hoopties are cool too.
Yeah. Is there anything that you'd request for your next stint in the El Jefe that you see would make it a B instead of a B-?
So on Sunday, the end of the day was a little challenging. The end of the day was a little challenging. So
it was a hot weekend.
It was hot. It was hot and
brutal.
And the end of the day for the last 20 minutes, Jeremy? Seemed like more than that, but it's probably about that.
No, it was that. So there was about 50 minutes, and I went on the radio and I said, "Hey Tim, how's the truck feel? It's weird popping and banging noises as you're coming through turn 5." He's like, "Oh, it feels okay so far." And then it progressively started making them more, and he started hearing them more, and and now you can go from here.
Oh yeah. So it started. It would start to just cut out a little bit going into 5, and it was like a and then off it'd go. And then it started doing it in 7, and then it started doing it coming out of 2, and then it started like and then off you go, and it got progressively worse to the point where 3 times a lap I was like, the car is going to stall, and like I got to get out of the way before somebody rear ends me, and then it was like then off you go, right? And the what's the silver is it Austin Healey, the one that the kids painted on the side of it? Super slow C car.
Oh yeah. I think it was an Austin Healey.
I think it was a Healey, but so they were really slow as a a car of that pedigree should be. And those poor guys, I was stuck with them for like the last 5 laps, and I'd go barreling by them, and then we'd come like into turn 2, and El Jefe would be like, and then they go around me, and I'd point them by, and they go around me on the left, and then big, and then I'd pass them. Yeah, I go ripping by him until we got to the next corner. I'd turn around the corner, and the car would go, and then hand out the window again, pointing them by, and we did that for 5 laps. That guy must have been just beside himself. Like, what is this clown doing?
And it was very loud. The backfires that thing was doing were very, very loud.
It was very unhappy. It was very unhappy. And apparently if you turn your exhaust into a piece of the electrical system and attach your battery to it, the battery doesn't do well. And that's what we think was the problem. The battery came off the track, and it was, solar flare hot. So we're gonna have to figure out how to change that location. But it was super fun, and I'm like, oh come on, just hang in there, baby. We've only got like 15 minutes left to take the checkers.
I kept telling him, just stay out as long as you can. Just stay out.
Yeah,
and he did,
and we did.
And what was the outcome of that?
So the truck, it had the 78th
somewhere around
lap?
there,
72nd fastest lap.
That's good, right?
Of the track out of 93 cars.
That's really good though, right?
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, that's like super fast. And we did, as many driver changes as we could on Saturday. So we spent a lot of time in
we did 7
drivers,
7 stints on Saturday. We were just there to have fun.
Yep. And when all was said and done on Sunday, when the checkers dropped, even with the we finished 13th overall. So pretty solid.
Yeah.
That's
so
fantastic.
you'd say you had a good weekend at Thompson with seat jumping.
It was fantastic. Yeah, it was great. It was, the one thing I will offer as advice to seat hoppers is when you go from one car to the next, just remember which car you're in, because they can be very different. And the Ombre and the Cressida,
not the same.
Braking points, different shift points. When I was driving the El Camino and the Solstice, like the El Camino, like you've got this big steering wheel and you're like, whoa, huge steering inputs. And then I got in the Solstice like 15 minutes later, and I started to move the steering wheel the same amount, and I almost drove the thing right off the track. And I was like, oh, this is a much different car. So let's just remember what you're in. Remember what you're in. Take a deep breath, and everything feels a little different. So,
so the El Jefe is not boring. Is that what we're saying?
I will get in that truck again.
Yeah. It'll be great once we figure out everything that's going on with it.
That's right.
So it is a fun truck. It is a
It
fun
is.
truck.
It's super fun. Jeff Wakeman, when I got out of the car on Sunday, I pulled it in the garage at the end of the day, and he comes over and he goes, "I am so mad right now." He's like, "Why does everyone keep selling this truck? You guys finished 13th overall. This is like, what are we doing? Why are we not driving this car?" He was so mad.
So, well, we specialize in getting people started in this sport, as people know. So, what do you think we could do to get your significantly better half out there to play with us?
You know what? I
Mark-
think a little poking and prodding is all it's going to take. So
Just
the big
like-
one is to get her some safety gear. So I've been looking online for some used safety gear to try to get her dialed in. And if I can find some of that, and if that presents itself, I think that's a big hurdle.
What if
You know.
we actually have a car that's just dedicated to girls?
Oh, she would love that.
We do that.
So
She would
We have
love
girl
that.
weekends.
yeah, and now I can even drive because Jeremy might invite me because wrong genitalia. Anyway,
Right.
so
Yeah.
Next year,
That'd be
more
fantastic.
than one car for lemons.
exactly.
And I'm
So
guessing after especially if we have a few guys that show up to the rally track, if we do O'Neill, she'll be there. So we'll have new friends to make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be. It's a all girl weekend, all girl work, all girl drive, no pressure.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, you just get out there and have a good time.
Yeah.
And Vicky
I think-
specializes in that, and I have been to a track with girls that she has brought in to do that, and they're grinning ear to ear all weekend long.
Yeah, I think she would love that. Like I said, she did HPDE. It was super fun. She would do it again. She
Mhm.
just hasn't, but she's been doing the races a bunch. She only likes to go to the races when the girls are there, because when it's just guys, we're doing all race car things, and then
Yep.
she's like, it's okay. Like, I'll get in the car and drive, but I don't really care about what's going on with your ignition coils and your wires and things.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Does
on
not
our
interest
side.
her. Yeah, that does not interest her at all.
Sounds like she should race on my team.
Yeah.
We'll let Vicky and Jeremy fix the cars, and we'll just drive.
Right. Yep.
Sign her up for that.
There we
Okay.
go. We can do that. And the margarita popsicles are just a bonus. So, all right, sir, you've made it to that time that everybody fears. You've made it to the Fast and Furious story time questions.
All right. Hit
We
me.
give you a few simple questions. Sometimes they're simple answers. We're going to save some for your next time when you're on, because we need to talk post rally school. Even if we don't go, we're going to talk post rally school. So, Miss Vicky, do you want to kick it off?
I do. My absolute favorite question. What was your first car, and what was the worst car you ever had?
All right. First car was the 81 Audi 4000 5-speed. Actually really loved that car. The worst car I ever had was an 89 gold Toyota. Oh, I don't own that, actually. I've driven that. But 89 Toyota Corolla. It was, 2 hamsters short of having any sort of power. It did its job. It was my commuter car while I was in college, but it was, only a car by definition. It had no soul. I hated that thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mr. Jeremy, do you have one that you'd like to play with?
What is one thing about you that your racing friends don't know and that might surprise them? I rephrased it a little bit.
So
Okay.
I would say that I would say the ones close to me know, but not everybody. But I'm very big on pushing the limits, right? Like, I like to try something and figure out how to do it, right? Whether it be play the guitar or play darts, or I got into triathlon for a while and I got really heavy into endurance sports because it was, my wife said, "Hey, I'm going to go do a triathlon." And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to do a triathlon." So that's how it started. And that was in 2004. And then I did a sprint triathlon, and then I did an Olympic distance triathlon. And then I said, "Oh, I'm going to try a half Ironman." And then I did an Ironman, and then I did a second Ironman. And then I did a 50-mile endurance run. And then I was like, okay, that's enough. I don't need to do any more of that crap. That was good. So
Yeah.
it's it's pushing the limits, and I think that applies to what I do in race cars now, right? Like I'm trying to figure out how to get better. How do I get not necessarily quicker, but better? And going back to the rally school, right? Like I feel there's two things that I've identified, and I'm sure there's more, but two that I've identified where I can improve. And one is being more comfortable driving with a higher slip angle. And the second one is I tend to overslow the car out of high speed. So into slow turns out of high speed turns. So turn 1, 2 complex in Thompson. Every single time I came out of turn 2, I was like, "You slowed down too much, you idiot. Go faster next time." And it was, every single time. And it's a little bit harder when you're in someone else's car, but it's, trying to push the envelope of what can you do and how can you get better and conquer different things. So that's the endurance side of my life. I did that for many years, 7 years. I did over 50 triathlons, and that was fun. I might do another one.
I'll do one if we drive. So what is a car that got away? Like, did you have a car you sold and you wish you didn't? Did you have a car you wish you bought but you didn't? Do you have one?
So a little different than that, actually. I'll spin that a little bit. So I had a car that I wanted for a really long time. I wanted a C3 Corvette, somewhere in the chrome bumper era, right? So 68 to 72. Bought a 72. It was a handful. It needed a lot of work. Bought it in Jersey and then promptly moved to California a year later. And it sat in multiple friends and families' driveways until I finally got it out to California, in which I found that I just got a promotion. I had no time to work on it, so I sold it. But I really loved that car. Like, I think they look beautiful. So then, pan forward a few years, I found a Le Mans blue 69 Corvette, T-top, black interior. It was the only thing that's different that I would have wanted would have been a white convertible, blue with the black with the white top. So I bought it. Boy, that car's terrible. it's pretty. It's really pretty.
It's pretty terrible.
Fun driving that car at all. And it's, it's hot and it smells and it's, it's old technology and it twists and it squeaks and all the things, So I realized that I really like the way old cars look, but I prefer driving newer cars. So,
it's an awesome resto mod, though.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Buy someone else's. Buy
exactly.
someone that's already done it.
Exactly. There's some wisdom there.
Mm-hmm. So how about, what was that one car that got away?
We literally just did that one.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That's usually my question.
This is the car I wanted it to go away after I got
it. Oh. So, okay. So how about this? Your most memorable car breakdown on the road or track?
Oh, that's so many to choose from. So the most memorable breakdown I had was in the Solstice. It hadn't been party striped yet. It was still silver. Had some flesh tones on the corners, maybe a little bit. But we went and did Willow Springs. And that's when we won the EC class in the Omega, and we were running the Solstice. It was really our first time having that car out on track on the West Coast. And we were driving around. It was Champ Car, so it's 2 races, a race Saturday, a race Sunday. Car did great on Saturday. Sunday, we woke up and all of us were up a little later Saturday than we probably should have been. So they made me go in the car first. Wasn't feeling wonderful. So I get in the car, and I'm driving around, and I'm kind of just driving slow, and I don't feel great. And like it's windy out, and that track is really exposed, and it's bumpy. It's a rough surface. I don't think they've paved it in 600 years. And all of a sudden the ABS light comes on. Or that ABS. No. And I'm like, hey guys, ABS light's on. And Matt's like, yeah, how's the car feel? I'm like, I don't know, it feels fine. He's like, yeah, just stay out. I'm like, okay. So ABS lights on, and I'm driving, and I go into the right-hander. There's a couple of them. It's a clockwise track, and I feel like this little bump, like boop, and and then car kind of settles in, and then it just stays there, and it doesn't do it again. And then you go into another right-hander, and it feels a little boop. And so I radio it in. I'm like, hey, there's something weird with the back of the car. I want to come in and let's check it out. And they're like, yeah, Scott's not ready for you yet. Like, just do a couple parade laps. So I'm like, all right. So I'm driving around, and is it getting worse, or is it in my head? Right? Like I'm hyper focused on this. And I'm like, hey guys, it's getting worse. I'm just gonna come in, and when Scott's ready, we can get in the car. And they're like, oh, he's suited up. We'll meet you at the wall. So I come around, and I pull into the hot pit, and I drive up, and I come to a stop, and Scott and Matt are standing there, and this puff of smoke goes by my car as I come to a stop from the back end, and both of their eyes get really big. And Matt's like, car's on fire, get out of the car. And I'm like, whoa, the belts are flying, right? And they're like, oh, no, okay, it stopped. It was the brake was on fire. So they're like, all right, pull the car in. So drive around the wall, pull into the garage, and we jack the car up, and we go, and Matt goes to take the wheel off, and the wheel is wobbling like a lot. Like not a wheel bearing.
Oh geez.
Not a little wheel bearing wobble. Like, there are 3 bolts that hold the wheel to the hub, or hold the hub to the axle, and one of them was gone, and one of them was broken, and the other one was loose. And so you're going around at 125 miles an hour with the driver's left loaded up with 1 bolt. So like if that came off, that car would have definitely gone round and round upside down.
Oh geez.
Yeah, that was pretty scary. So we've added red Loctite to all of the hub bolts as part of our weekly race trip checklist. So that was pretty, like, looking back going, whoa, that could have been really bad.
Wow.
Especially in that car. It goes pretty quick.
Yeah, it's fast.
Mr. Jeremy.
Let's go back to a classic question that everyone always talks about. The fastest that you've ever been in a car, where, when, was it safe? Was it not safe?
What car?
What car?
Mexico has been a popular answer. Just FYI.
So the fastest I've ever been in a car on the street was in New Jersey. I was approaching the Thompson toll plaza.
82.
And that's when I found out that the car had a speed limiter on it.
Very nice.
Scared the hell out of me because I didn't know it was coming. And all of a sudden the car went boom, flat on his face.
I broke it.
That was scary. So if you want to look up what the speed limiter is on a 94 Camaro, you'll know how fast I was going.
Oh.
So something around 187 miles an hour?
Yes, it's about 62.
63 maybe. Yeah. Depends if you had overdrive. Yeah. All right. Watch Miss Vicky's face. This is her favorite. We're going to win the lottery.
Oh, so
We're going to-
long-winded.
That's right. We're going to say thank you to every one of our guests, and we want to make sure we do it right. So we're going to buy an island. We're going to build a track, but we want to make sure that when you come to our island, we have the proper cars for you. So we need to know what 5 cars do we need to have on the island for you when you come and visit.
Oh, I get 5?
Yeah.
Oh, not just 1, 5.
Well,
All right.
I mean, it sucks to be on our podcast, so we got to make it up to you.
All right. I'm gonna go. I'll go. Do you want me to go cheapest to most expensive, or vice versa?
It's your podcast, sir.
Okay. All right. I want a LS swapped Miata.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want a Porsche GT3.
I got you covered on that one, buddy.
Thank you. I want a Lamborghini. I don't care what it is.
Okay, I got you covered on that one too.
Just because I think they sound really angry. I like that. The next one is gonna be kind of funny. I want a terrible car, actually, which is a Dodge Viper SRT. Actually thought about buying one.
Not the ACR.
Not the ACR.
Okay.
Not the ACR. The SRT, like one of the original, like early 90s
Okay.
with the 3 spokes, like terrible. Like
Oh, yeah.
terrifying. Terrible. Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd
terrifying is used for those.
Yeah. I think that'd be
Yeah.
fun. And then the last one is going to be really expensive. The last one is going to be a Ferrari P4 330. So good luck for that one.
That's okay. It's a big lottery. When we win,
Well,
we only win the big ones.
I think Jeremy is just having a moment right now.
Oh, yes.
Having
yes.
a moment.
Okay.
Yep.
Sexiest car ever made. Ever.
Oh my God, so beautiful.
Mhm. Okay. Well, Jeremy's occupied right now with something. So, Miss Vicky,
Yeah. My question is, if you could, for the rest of your life, could only daily drive and race one car from one decade. Well,
it's cars from a single decade. You
right.
pick
Cars from a
10-year
single
period.
decade.
You can have
Right.
anything there, but that's it. You can't drive anything before or after.
Yes.
Well, it's probably
What
not going to be
decade?
the future because I like the noise. So I would say it's probably going to be the 2010 to 2020 range. That's when everything had a lot of horsepower. Everything was figured out how to handle well. There's very few cars I think that you could pick from that era that wouldn't be fun to drive on a racetrack.
Okay. All right. In honor of Jennifer, we have to ask her favorite question. What is your favorite car movie or car from a movie of all time?
Golfer, Rodney Dangerfield with the
very nice.
slant-eyed rolls. That thing is amazing. What was that? 56 slant eye, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
The convertible red, that thing's awesome.
Mhm.
Wheel on the wrong side, the whole deal.
Okay.
Gotta have the horn though.
Absolutely. And the golf bag, because
Yep.
as long
Yeah,
as you're not carrying.
Yeah, I
That'd
would
be-
daily drive that thing for sure. So stupid.
I could see you caging it too, but that's just you.
Yeah.
Miss Vicky, you got one more?
Yeah. Whose car that you race against would you love to hop into that you have not had an opportunity yet?
So
And
one of
all
the
of them
guys-
is not an answer.
well, yeah, that's the hard part. Yeah. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Almost all of them.
I'm not that much of a seat whore, but I'm close. So Jimmy Varillas from the Motherfuckers, he's got an E30 and it's always in the hunt. It's not the fastest thing out there, but he's really meticulous in the way he maintains it. And it's just one of those cars that I want to get in. And last year we were going to do the 24-hour in Denver and he had problems with the engine builder, couldn't get it done in time. So we didn't get to do it. So that was a big bummer. But I think I might be getting in it at Button Willow. So my wish might be coming true. So they've got one of their guys in their team can't make it. So they're a guy short. And I instantly raised my hand. I was like, yes, put me in the car, please. So I think I've got at least a 2.5 hour stint in that on Saturday at Budwell, which would be fun.
Nice.
Awesome. Jeremy, last one for you.
What car, any, would you completely wipe away from history? Worst thing in the world, never should have been produced. What car do you think should be completely gone?
Oh,
I had that same problem too.
yeah. There's a couple of them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
None of the five you picked,
I'm gonna go with probably a not popular pick. Like can I erase the drivers along with it? Can we get rid of all the Prius, the original Prius, and all the Prius drivers?
Yes.
I want all of them gone. Can we just give them bicycles?
Oh, yeah.
We basically have. I mean,
I hate that car. It's a terrible car.
Yep.
All right.
Has a Yugo ever showed up at Lemons?
Yes.
Spank, I think, right?
At least once. I mean, I think there's been more than one.
If we could, like, this is just a question out there.
I'm not buying it.
No. Just what would be the weirdest car that has not shown up yet to Lemons?
That's the hard part.
So many have showed up. That is the hard part.
I know. Has anything not shown up?
Yes. But
Well,
they're all
I'm
cars
sure.
that Phil likes.
Oh, yeah.
He's got
Because the
whole
Aztec
list.
has shown up, right?
Sure.
Aztec.
Overzet had one of those. Yep. Yeah,
There's been a lot of really weird cars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I love seeing that, by the way. Like driving around and you see these people getting all racy and this and that, and then you see just this absolute crap can go by and you're like, yes. It's so good. It's so good.
Especially when it's 30 feet long, black, and has a chandelier on it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Oh,
Where it's a limo and it's got smokestacks out of the top,
Mhm.
like
Right.
the Titanic. Fantastic.
I have, let
Absolutely.
me see. These are the 10 worst cars ever made. We're going to do the countdown. Pontiac Aztec,
Yep.
No surprise.
AMC Gremlin.
No surprise.
Let me see.
I will say to defend the Gremlin the slightest bit, it is one hell of a matchbox car if you have a set where you're racing, because it's like a block of steel. And
Yeah.
it just flies.
There may or may not be a Gremlin showing up on the West Coast soon.
I'm sorry.
So
We're
let
gonna
me
stop.
see.
We're gonna stop right there. Without
It's good. It's gonna
going any
be.
further.
It's
We
gonna
got
be
the 70s
fantastic.
Pinto for obvious reasons. The Hummer.
For obvious reasons.
Because it
obvious
didn't know the
reasons,
words.
5 H2. That's number 7. Number 6 is the Suzuki X90.
Oh, those things were such garbage.
Were they?
Oh
Oh.
my god! A buddy had one. Worst thing in the world.
Oh my gosh. Oh, my, it's so ugly too. You know what?
Oh.
That needs to show up on the racetrack.
No,
It's so
no,
It's not worth the cage.
no.
It's not thick enough to put metal to.
number 5, the Reliant Robin.
Oh, yep. 3-wheeler.
Yep.
Not gonna
The
happen.
3-wheeler. No, they would stop that. The
If
Chrysler
you could
PT.
figure out how to put 4 wheels on it, and you that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah. If you made a round roll bar on the top and you just
So it
rolled
rolls
back
over.
its wheels.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Sorry, Vicky.
on its introduction out there, the midlife crisis car for people was the Chrysler PT Cruiser. I think every dad who had older children had one, I think.
Those things are horrible. I worked for
Junk.
Chrysler for a couple of years, and I lived the furthest away from the dealership. So I got to drive a lot of cars because cars needed to be reset for readiness and all these other things, and needed to find issues. Every time they wanted me to drive a Neon or a PT Cruiser, I refused. There was no way. I'm not driving that car.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
I can't make it home.
Let me see. Number 3 is the Riva G Whiz, which showed up on Top Gear on the British side with Jeremy
Yep.
Clarkson. The Austin Allegro is number 2.
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know that one.
That was a British car, so they probably have something comparable to this side. And of course, number 1 is the Yugo GV, which is the one that I'm always saying it's just a terrible car.
Well earned title right there.
Yep.
So the Allegro kind of looks like a 4-door 70s Capri, only not pretty. It's not good.
I don't know that a 70s Capri was pretty.
Yeah. Oh, you have seen ours? It's got anyway. You're not coming on the podcast anymore. Fine. That's right. I'd like to welcome Tim to the podcast and bid Jeremy a fond farewell.
Bid you adieu.
I say that because they used to race one and they have one in the hangar that is waiting for a rear end to get back on the racetrack.
Yep.
So I'm poking fun at Bill.
A rear end and engine mounts that aren't made of tinfoil. Yes, that is what we're waiting for. So Tim, you've been great. It was great getting to know you better. And if anybody wants to follow along with some of your, I can't think of a good word for it. If anybody just wants to follow along, shenanigans, that's a good one.
Perfect.
Yeah. Are you a user of the social medias, or are you kind of private and keep your head in a box, shall we say?
No, I am. I don't post a ton of stuff. Usually it's car related when I do. You can follow me on Instagram at TimberPGA or Timberman on Facebook. Those are the two that I flog around on. But if you want to see race cars and junky Lemon's car spotting things that I come across, feel free to pop on there.
We had a listener write in. They had one question we're going to end with. How many golf carts have you rolled?
Can I take the fifth?
It was Mexico. Whatever happens in Mexico stays in Mexico.
Just going to say, one goat.
Just one goat.
Just one goat.
All right. With that, sir, thank you for coming on. It's always fun. And we will bother you again. And one of us or all of us will be rallying soon.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll stay in touch, and I'll send you some info on what I come up with for sure. I'd love to have you guys. That'd be a blast.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Cool. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
Jeremy only has to drive like 6 minutes to get there.
No, it's a couple hours.
Is it?
But it's worth it. Yeah, it's about an hour 45.
Okay. It's about 20 from here, but whatever. Very well. Thank you, Tim.
You got it. Thank you, Bill. Thanks, Vicky. Thanks, Jeremy. We'll see you next time.